everybody. I'd like to start our meeting. Feel free to keep eating, but if I can have everyone's attention. The first thing I want to say is welcome home. I know we were here last fall, but it wasn't the same. But I'm glad so many people showed up today. It's really, really nice. I want to make sure everyone saw both the newspaper article that the Gloucester Daily Times did for us, as well as our own newsletter. It's great to have the publicity. What we were aiming for is to let everyone in the town and around Cape Ann know about us. And hopefully the article did that. I have a copy of it here. I also have a copy of the newsletter if anyone didn't see it. But you should, hopefully you saw it. But I want to thank Carol Johnson for putting out that newsletter. It was a wonderful newsletter. Stand up for 1 second, so everyone knows your name. And she has taken over the whole newsletter from Lisa Sims and doing a great job. If anyone has anything that they think would be good for the newsletter, please contact her. She's always looking for articles, little blurbs, little helpful hints, whatever. And she's in the book, so you can always find her. And for the newspaper article, I'd like to thank Christine Southard. Where are you, Chris? She is our new public relations liaison. And her job is to get us articles in the press, wherever that may be. And she's made some good contacts, and as you can see, her first effort was fabulous. So, did you want to get up and say a few words, Christine?
Sure. I'll always get up and say a few words. But I prefer not to use the mic, and I want to know, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic, so I'm not going to use the mic. For those of you that don't know who I am, I joined the Garden Club probably about just before the pandemic hit. We all laid low, nobody met anybody. Last year I was involved with hospitality and with Audrey over in the corner, and we put on the Christmas show. So if you don't know who I am, I'm the idiot that got up and sang with a big wreath on his head. And an idea popped into my head, and as Sherry, thank you for the introduction. Sherry anointed me the public relations liaison, and it's the newest position created in the club. Also, I'd like to announce that right now I have also joined, as of yesterday. I'm delighted they took me on. I'm now part of the communication committee. So I think committees, and I've been advised by a very wise woman, committees make things happen in your club. Yeah. And I think that's really important. If you have an idea and you want to extend it, look at the clubs that exist and maybe join one, or the committees that exist. As Sherry mentioned, I think what the excuse me, I'm nervous. Communication committee, we're aiming at doing internal news bulletins and external. External is what is my passion, to get news out regarding what you do per group. And I know you belong to a committee. In order to make this work for our club, what I need is news hounds. News hounds will be one person in your committee that will send or give me information. In turn, I have an editor, so you don't need to be a big writer. Just list things, even if you can't write an article. We'll have it edited, and then we'll submit it to the newspapers. The Gloucester Daily Times I've been involved with, as Sherry mentioned, there's an article, and I just got word that there's another online paper called Good Morning Gloucester, which I will get over there too, and it's going to just take time. So what I still need is news hounds. My name and number and contact information is in the little pink book, so please go for that pink book, sign up, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Is Karen Wise here today?
No.
No, she's not here? Okay. All right. I was going to wish her happy birthday. Today's her birthday. And,
Probably why she's not.
that's probably and then I have been asked to read for Pam Lane, who is head of our. Pam Lane is our new head, one of the co-chairs of our service committee, and she's new to that job this year as co-chair, although she's done work with them. And the other co-chair is Leslie Doig. And one of the things that the Community Service Committee has done in the past is we've prepared dinners at Open Door. But all of that was pre-COVID. With COVID, we had to stop doing that because they stopped serving dinners. We've been giving them money. But when we asked them, what can we do instead of just giving you money, we would like to actually do something, do some work. So when they contacted the coordinator over there, she said they needed people to sort food donations. And what that means is you go in and you count the food that comes in, you record it, and then you stock it on the shelves. And Pam and Leslie are looking for 4 volunteers to go with them, and it is on April 14th from 3 to 5. And Pam, wherever you are, has a clipboard she's going to pass around, and hopefully she can get her 4 volunteers today to help do that. It's a worthy cause, as you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Pam. And then we have a few other people here today to speak to us, to tell us about some things going on in the club. And the first one is from our garden tour. 2 of the co-chairs, Eleanor Juvier and Pat Alto, are here to tell us what's going on with the garden tour for this year.
Woo! I'm going to pass on the mic because I'm Irish. You'll hear me. My Irish whisper is very, very loud. We're going to talk about Rockport in Bloom, which is the largest fundraiser that the Garden Club has, as most of you know. We have 3 co-chairs, Eleanor Jubileer, Laurie Rango, who's not here right now, and myself, I'm Pat Alto. So the Rockport in Bloom is June 24th. It's from 10 to 4. And this year we have 12 gardens, and they're on the south side of Rockport. For those of you who are not familiar with that, that's over near the high school, Eden Road, and also Marmion Way. And we're going to have artists in the garden this year as usual, and then at the end of the day at Whale's Jaw, there's going to be a reception where you can go and meet the artists and look at the artwork that's going to be available for sale. This year, 2 new things this year. One is that they're on Friday before the event, there is going to be a preview for volunteers to go through the gardens. So that's exclusively for the volunteers. And also this year, something a little different is we're not going to have the lunches. Instead, we're going to encourage people to go to the local businesses and purchase lunch, and then you can go to Old Garden or any of the beaches and have a picnic. On the map, we will identify where the businesses are so folks can go to the businesses, and so that's a little new this year. 2 important things that we want to bring up today, and that is, one is that tickets are now available online If you go to the website, you can purchase tickets. A lot of you have already, and we thank you very much for that. The tickets are $30 until June 1st. That's the early bird ticket price. And then after June 1st, they are $35. And these, as most of you know, this is the ticket. This is the book that describes the gardens, and it also serves as the ticket. And equally important, and the last thing is that what we are interested in is getting volunteers, because there are 12 gardens, and many of you are familiar with what that volunteer responsibility includes, and that's sitting at the garden for like 2-hour shifts. So anyway, you can sign up online. We'll have that up online shortly, we know that you filled out some of the paperwork, and we thank you for that, so it gives us an idea of how many volunteers we have, but we really need volunteers to make this work. Monica Lawton and Diane Cartwright are the folks who are in charge of that. Did you want to say anything quickly about that, Diane? Or you're
Well, I was going to say something. Does that have to be quickly?
No.
It's going to take 2 minutes, but keep going.
Take your time.
No, you finish and then I'll speak.
No, so that's it. So we do need volunteers, and if you could, you could purchase your tickets, and that'd be terrific. And we'll be sending out e-blasts and updating you on everything. And is there anything else to add to the?
No, an email, Diane might address this, but an email will be going out to all the membership to sign up online for volunteers.
You can just pass these around.
So I think Diane
It's a
might
save.
address that.
But that's okay. Go ahead.
There are a couple of seats on the bench over here if you like.
Can you do me a favor, like Kayla, go to the table sign this, and this is just a save the date thing, so let me just tell you really quickly. I'm Diane Cartwright, and Monica Lawton is my co-chair, and as many of you may know, this year we're going to do it a little bit differently because we are having an online sign-up. And Monica is on the board of Rockport New Year's Eve, and they've been using this system the last couple of years, and it's worked out really well. So she has set it up, and we're going to roll it out around April 15th or so, and she will send you the link in an email blast, plus it'll be on the website, and you'll just go in and log in, and you'll see like the 12 gardens listed. It'll have their addresses, and there's the 10 to 1 o'clock time frame, and then there's a 1 to 4. Of course, you all have to show up 15 minutes early before your time, just so that everybody knows that you have shown up. And you just you'll see how many slots are available. There's like 2 per garden per hour, and you just click on it. And it's really straightforward. There will be an email, or you call me if you're having any trouble, but just as soon as you get that email, then you have the pick of what garden you want to be at, so just start signing up for it. Does anyone have any questions?
Is there a way that dozens can get a copy of the schedule of gardens? I've been at a loss every time I've sat at gardens because I don't have a list of all the gardens if I don't have a booklet.
No, that's...
We can print out a list. If you don't have the ticket booklet, all the volunteers to attend to go through the tour on Friday, we would ask that you all purchase a ticket. So all the volunteers will have a book. If you choose not to do that, then we can certainly have some lists printed out of all the gardens.
That'd be helpful.
Yes. Yep.
And also, just one more thing. When you sign up, please write down which garden you have selected and your time slot, because Monica and I are not planning to email each individual one of you and say, okay, remember, go to this garden, and this, it's your responsibility to remember. If you really forget, we can look it up. But otherwise, just, plan on writing it down on your calendar.
And an important note that if you're not computer savvy, don't worry about it. Give us a call.
Yeah.
And Diane or somebody will help you out, because I know some people are a little hesitant because this is new, but it's
pretty easy. You'll just have to put in your name and an email, but I can walk anybody through it or do it for them. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. One thing, as Eleanor said, if you go on the Friday, if you take advantage of that, you need to have a ticket book. please remember this is our big fundraiser. So it's helpful if everybody buys at least one ticket. That's how we have money to do all the work that we do all year. So next, I also meant to mention, while I was talking about Carol and Christine, we have another member on communications that does our Facebook and Instagram page. If none of you have looked at it and you subscribe to those, you might want to take a look. They are also looking for, Nancy's also looking for any photographs that you'd like to submit. You can send them to Nancy. She also is in the yearbook. That's Nancy Muse. And she would love to have those to post them. And if you provide a picture, please tell her who it is and what it is that she's looking at. She doesn't know everything. But talking about town gardens, I know it'll be time soon, very soon, for everybody to be out there and cleaning up and doing work. And I thank you all for doing that. Next on our schedule is regarding the plant sale, and Katie is here somewhere to talk about it. There she is. Katie, I'll mention this. Katie Cahill is our new plant sale chairperson. I roped her into doing this. As many of you may know, Katie used to own Katie's Gift Shop, which is now the Wharf Rat. Wharf Rat Trading Company, I'm sorry. Anyway, so I figured she had time to do some things. So, you want this?
Yeah, I still live above the store, so I'm still in the same location. I only have one phone number now. It's in the book. It's my cell phone number, so there's no more landline anymore. So happy to take on this chore. Kim Mitchell is my co-chair, and it's actually a real big team effort. There's Eileen Saunders is on it, Holly, there it is, and I'm sure I'm missing some people. Ian Hyde, and Sonia. Who else? Diane. Anyway, I'm sure I've missed a few people. So the big news for the plant sale this year is we have a new location. It was not our first choice. It was not our second choice. However, we have a location. It is going to be this year on Saturday, May 20th, 9 to 11 a.m. at Rockport High School at the parking lot closest to the auditorium. So if you're heading up Jordan's Lane, it's the first parking lot on the left that you will come to. So it's there. The biggest thing about that is that we can't set up until the night before. So we've got a very short window for setting up. So we're going to need everybody's help in that regard. We need everybody to label their plants as best you can. And we have as has been used in prior years. You cut up Venetian blinds and you stick them in and label your plants. What we need to know is what the plant is, color, shade, or sun. Anything else? Oh yeah. Anything you think is pertinent to know about the plant, we need them labeled because we've got just such a short window for setting up on Friday night. We can't do it until school lets out on Friday, so we can't do anything until after school lets out on that Friday. So
3 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
well, the drop-off instructions are going to be, we're working on it. So we will know at the next meeting. So drop-off instructions to be announced is the biggie there. So, and there will be some of these Venetian blind things here. I will leave them. Also, we have with us today, Eileen has graciously agreed to have all these pots in the back of her car, which is in the driveway. So if you need any pots, they are available today. And whatever you don't take today, if you don't need them today, whatever, Ann Hyde is going to have them. Ann, want to raise your hand? Eileen, raise your hand too. Everybody knows that. Ann has the rest of the pots, and they'll be available on her porch, 26 Railroad Avenue, right across from the former Dunkin' Donuts. So just go up on her porch and take whatever you need. She's got a whole bunch there. So if you want to take some today, see Eileen after the meeting. She's right in the parking lot here. Take some of these with you when you go. Everybody should have got a sheet, a sign-up sheet. So the reminder is you were either to donate $25 or 5 plants. And yeah, so take. Oh, yeah. If you're digging up plants from your garden, bulbs or whatever, now's the time to start. So we've got the pots available if you need them. Reminder, we're only doing outdoor plants, no indoor plants, and no invasive plants, please.
No orange daylilies.
Oh, yes. No orange daylilies or Siberian iris. We also asked, yes, go ahead.
Do you have to be outside often? Is there some reason why it's only 2 hours? That's very short.
That's what we've traditionally done is 2-hour sale. Yeah, it goes very quickly. It takes longer to set up than it does to sell. Yeah, so that's traditionally what we have done, and it seems to have worked well. Which is part of the reason why we did the high school, because we get such a flux of people coming in. It gets crowded at the beginning, and then after the first hour, it slows down. Yes?
Yes, I'm a new member.
Yay!
And speaking of invasive plants that we don't have to sale, I wonder if there's any sightings of the invasive jumping worms here. How is that a concern for a plant sale?
I don't know. Jumping worm? I don't know anything about it. I think you're going to have to talk to some of the other people about it. I don't know about them. So far, the word I'm getting is that we haven't seen any here. Okay, so also please make sure your plants are in good condition, watered and labeled. And we're still going through the donation sheets that most people have already handed in, and we'll be in touch as to who's volunteers. A lot of people have volunteered. We haven't divvied out the days yet. So thank you very much.
All right, and last but not least, Cynthia Johnson, who is our membership chair, has a few people she would like to talk about.
I don't know, can you hear me without that? I'm really loud. Okay. Welcome, new members. And first of all, you got your name tag. If you came in later and you didn't get your name tag, please retrieve it before you leave, because you're all taking them home. Okay? And so you have them for, say, the plant sale. Volunteering, you already have your, stick it on your calendar, your dresser, or whatever, stick it on a ribbon if you got it. Anyway, please keep trying. For those who I messed up and you didn't have a name tag, I apologize. You will next time. Okay, first we want to welcome Marie Fox, who came used to be a member of the garden club, and she now lives in Peabody. But Marie came back to say hello to many old friends. Hi, Marie. We're so glad that she did. And we have another, Isabel Merritt, who was a member, and she's back today and rejoining the club. I'll send her the information. Then we have, let me start with the most recent. We have 4 new members, 3 are here today, I think. Sarah Gindel, where are you, Sarah? Oh, stand up, Sarah. She's been in Rockport for a number of years, has a big garden. She's a mahjong friend of some other members of the club. And we welcome Sarah. Karen DeCoster, where are you sitting? There you are. Okay. Here. And Karen, right, she just moved here in October. Well, this past October. And they were living in Georgetown, and she is certified as a master gardener. Congratulations. One is more than me, European. So she plans to renovate her gardens and be an active member of the club. So welcome, Karen. We also have, who else? Judy Lurie. Where are you sitting? Judy. Judy. Judy lives in the Marvin neighborhood. Dean or Smith? Smith, right. Judy just moved recently from the San Francisco Bay Area, except that she's been coming to Rockport in the summer since she was 5 years old. So she already knows a lot of people and places, but gardening in the Northeast she wants to learn more about. Marcy Carr is here. Marcy, hi. Marcy's been here for a little over a year now. And she moved here from Beverly. She was a member of the Beverly Garden Club, right? And worked at Bloomfield for a little bit. So yeah, so welcome, Marcy. I don't think Christine Chosen is here. But Christine, where are you? There you are. Hi, Christine. Stand up. She moved from Ohio. Chicago. Yeah, but her grandsons live around here. Has only been in Rockport for a little while, and she thanks us. She was from Ohio, Chicago, worked her way toward Rockport, but has family around here. So welcome. And Claudia Rogers. Claudia. The many people from church. Claudia lives up at the end of Jordan's Lane. Beautiful place. And she's a fascinating woman who's interested in lots of things. Well, as far as I know. But she's been here for 5 years, which is about the same, I think, as Sarah. But anyway, welcome, Claudia, and welcome all new members.
Thank you, Cynthia. And now we're ready. Judy, if you'll introduce our speaker.
All right. Our speaker today is Cris Blackstone. And just a little bit, she'll tell you more about herself, but a little bit, she's an advanced master gardener. She's a New Hampshire certified landscape professional. She's a photographer, a freelance writer, and a lazy gardener.
Do we have lift? We do have liftoff. I didn't mean to say, can you hear me now? So, it's wonderful to be here today. I want to send warm vibes to Carrie O'Donnell, who's not here right now, but she has been a wonderful and very patient liaison between me and the club, so greetings to her. And I also wanted to thank Judy for being very welcoming and kind, and several people also helped me schlep in stuff that I brought in my car from New Hampshire to come down and share some ideas with you today. It was also just so wonderful to pull into town, and I don't know the names of the streets that I came in on, but there's a house at the very edge of town with a honking huge boulder in the front. And I don't know geology words at all, but I thought that's the antithesis of a garden, but it'd be so spectacular to have that big dramatic thing in the front lawn. And that led me to think a little bit about, it looks like a big boulder from here, but up close we know there's lots of little biomes living in there. There's lots of little things and lichens and mosses, and probably at some times of the year there's probably little puddles of dew where damselflies might be sitting and taking in, or maybe some butterflies up there puddling and whatnot. So I just thought that was gorgeous. And were that not enough, I was very impressed and thought it was really, I'm going to say heartwarming, but that might be the wrong word to use, but seeing the sign on the side of the road, a very formal DPW sign, vernal pools, entering vernal pool area. But how cool is that, to live somewhere where the town and where the people are really respecting the importance of that part of nature, to see that. I did not pull over and listen for peepers. I felt like I might be a little bit jealous because it's a little bit early still in New Hampshire, so I thought if I heard him here, I'd have to go home, tell my husband, we'd get back in the car, we'd drive back down and hear the peepers. So just treasure the peepers when it comes time and you start to hear those, because that's something very special to New England. And whoever was here from San Francisco, where are you? Have you heard them yet?
Oh, yeah, well, we heard them back there.
You did? Oh, okay, good. Good.
I heard them.
Oh, it's a treasure this time of year to hear. Yeah.
I heard them for the first time last night, but where I come from, Martha's Vineyard, they're called Pinkeltinks.
Oh, that's even better. Let's all say Pinkeltink, because it just feels good to say. The Pinkeltinks. The Pinkeltinks. Oh, I got to share that story, too, some other time. I'll practice the Pinkeltinks. Sounds like an old grunge band, the Pinkeltinks. I like this. I like the Pinkeltink word. Great. So I wanted to share some ideas and let you know that as I speak, if you have questions about something or have a story, although Pinkeltink is a hard act to follow, but if you have a story to share, if you want to augment something I've said, or say, yes, I've done that and it works, or not so much, feel free to do that, because I wanted this to just be a casual give and take and have things flow quite easily. Also, given that I was just amazed when Carrie explained to me this was the first big time that you folks were together, and I heard you reference that fact too, so it's okay, we're going to go ahead and talk and share some stories. So I'm flattered to be the person that gets to see all of you together for the first time in such a long time. And just one more little story, which really is a lead into my talk. When I was standing over here, I was doing like stand on one foot and twizzle my ankle around, and stand on the other one and move my ankle around, and just bend my knees a little bit. It was not because I was impatient at all, but it's because I've had 2 knee replacements, and that's something that the OT and the surgeon said, if you're just standing around, just go on one foot, go on the other foot. As we age, it's good for keeping balance and keeping your inner ear like in tune to things and stabilizing your view on the horizon. So I was doing that, which is a really simple exercise to do for anybody, knee replacement or not. Getting ready, coming out of the wintertime and getting ready to go garden. You might think your lawn is just a beautiful flat area. It's not, according to your ankles. It looks nice and flat to us, but there's little ways that our ankles always have to pivot and turn and work like little gyroscopes to keep us balanced. So one foot, twizzle your ankle around, the other foot, twizzle your ankle around. And a little while ago, I was doing that in the grocery store line, holding onto my cart, one foot, the other foot, feeling like, oh yeah, that does feel very good. Stretch, that feels good. Little boy in back of me said to his dad, hey, look at that lady. I thought, okay, stand still, just don't be so obvious. He said, she ice skates. She plays hockey. Oh yeah, athletic, not so much. But then I realized what he was said. That I was like, and they were whispering and talking quite fervently. But I don't know if anybody in here watches hockey, but that's kind of a national anthem thing. While the anthems are going on, there's the players. There's one foot and then the other foot. They're doing it because they're kind of antsy and feeling the blade on the ice. I don't think it's because they're turning 70 in a week and had 2 knee replacements. But for that brief moment with that little kid saying, hey, she plays hockey, I thought, in my gloves-off life, right? Doesn't happen that way. But think about your warm-up exercises. They're very simple. I've seen a couple of people in here just doing their shoulders a couple of times. It's not calisthenics. It's not Jack LaLanne. It's not jumping jacks. It just kind of awakens some muscles that have been maybe remote controlling or reading books or cleaning out your pellet stove. But let's think about some motions we can make that are going to help range of motion and kind of waken up some muscles. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today are kind of designed to trigger your mind to think about it's okay to be a lazy gardener, okay? And lazy gardeners have a big job in the gardening world. It's about what can you do for the habitat, how can you not over-manicure things, and how can you create a space that's going to attract butterflies, damselflies, hummingbirds, whatever you want to attract. You can do that by thinking about how you're planting things and what kind of plants or what kind of maybe even lawn that you might be replacing with some plants, okay? And this is not to be a judgmental or any way political, but you might rethink some of the things that you're planting, and I'm thrilled to hear what your garden club is already doing about being aware of invasives, beautiful burning bush, what can you plant instead? So we're thinking go viburnum, get some color that way instead of some of the colors we might be used to. What else will that do for our bodies as we age? Things that were meant to be here, things that are native, are going to be hardier, probably acclimated to drought and changing conditions, and also in the diets that birds and beneficial insects want to have and want to eat. So if you have a bunch of things that are quite gorgeous and thriving and beautiful, not invasive, just they've been here for a long time, think maybe over time about replacing some of them with something that's native. The native things are going to morph and change and have a stronger root system as our weather does change. Climate change or not, whatever it is, something is going on differently. Let's think about how we can be lazy, meaning don't get out there and fight the plant. Don't get out there and fight nature. The right plant in the right place gives you time to do the right thing, prune it, take care of it, and then go sit back down and enjoy it. Right? That's what we're trying to do. Enjoy the garden. So I've just said 3 or 4 things that I want to capitalize on here. The idea of out in our garden, the plants take water. Out in the garden, we need to stay hydrated. Right? Very important, and I don't need to give the hydration story to people in this room. We all know stay hydrated. That's why I brought this to remind us, stay hydrated. And what we really need to do is, it's another story, but don't take a big water bottle, fill it up with ice, fill it up with iced tea or water, fill it all up, it's nice and cold. It has that really satisfying ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding noise with all that ice in there, and you're out working hard. Oh, take a big swig of that nice, freezing cold water. What does that do to your body? It's actually really hard, especially the older we get. The water goes in, it tastes so good, it feels so good. Our brain says, oh, very tasty, so refreshing. But the moment it hits your intestines and your bladder, your body has to spend a lot of energy warming that up to body temperature, which sounds maybe, well, what's the big deal about that? The idea is save all your energy that you can for working in the garden. And I can tell you another sidebar story to that. Our daughter actually was involved in a group from 3 years ago that climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Wonderful. Part of that trip included learning some things from local people about what the trip would be like and how the local people were going to help them. And one of the things that they learned, they'd heard a bit about it when they were still in New Hampshire, but one of the things that they really learned was the local guide saying, and as you lay down and fall asleep, not to offend anyone, but if you think you have to get up and go back to the bathroom, do it. Don't just lay there and think it'll go away, I'll just roll over, I'll forget about it. Don't do it, because your body, just laying there, is using energy to keep that liquid at your body temperature. Okay, it's cold at the altitude, but you've got to keep it body temperature, keep it body temperature. Don't use energy climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. If you have to go to the bathroom, just go and get back and go to sleep. You need your energy for the hike, not for warming up urine. The same as we need it to garden, excuse me, not for cooling down what we just took a big swig of. Okay, so it sounds easy, but just think about that the next time that you are packing something to drink. And I brought this to remind us, no, not good for and being in the garden. Skip alcohol, skip coffee and caffeine, just water or things with electrolytes in them. All the more important as we age to take care of what sort of chemicals and responsibilities the different parts of our intestines have for working with and not against the hydration that we need. We're going to start losing more through perspiration, so it's all the more important to think about shade. Think about hats, which I'm sure people are very conscientious about, but also think about sunglasses. Our eyes are using, again, it's all about the energy we're using that could be spent in the garden. So what can you do for your eyes? As simple as a visor. It doesn't have to be a hat unless you find that one that you love. Some of them are bucket hats and they're very comfortable, but we also, in the summer, it's okay to have some heat escaping through our head and shoulders, but keep your eyes shaded. Okay, it's going to be good to save that energy. Like, I think anybody in here who's been a parent or a school teacher can be looking over here and having eye contact here at the same time saying, Jeremy, could you put that pencil down? I know I've asked you before. Jeremy's over there thinking, wow, how does she do that? Well, our eyes are taking in that much information from the whole room and from the whole sphere, right? So just do what you can to protect your eyes. How do I go about going out in the garden? Well, I pack up a little bag just as I would if I were going to the beach, which might sound a little silly, but and maybe you all are better at going to the beach than I am, but beach bag for me is, I might need this, I might need that, what if I want this? Oh, I might want to read a book, I might want to read a magazine, this, that, what all is going in that beach bag to make my trip from my home to the beach successful? I do that with a garden bag, okay? Just pack it up and take it out with you. You're going to save energy thinking I'm out there, but this one thing I need is back in the house. Just take everything with you, make a little base camp out there, and save yourself the energy of walking in and out, traipsing back, traipsing forth. Take some things with you that you think you might need. And I think I might need some different sorts of things, maybe. I take a gizmo like this, which needs batteries, a little fan, because as we sweat, this feels really good to air off, and I'm going to save energy from going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with a fan. So a gizmo like this little fan is something to consider. Healthy for our bodies to have something with us to sort of decompress and get rid of the leaking minerals, which are also going to attract things you might not want to attract. I don't know what kind of flies and bugs you have, but the minerals that are coming out of the sweat are going to be things that attract bugs. So if you can blot and get rid of those, I take a bandana, which is either going to go around my head or get it wet. And it's pretty old school, but I don't know. I was a little kid in Kansas, so we would take these things and wrap them around our neck all kinds of wet. And it just felt great. So that helps calm your body down. And it's there if you need it to kind of block things off a little bit. The things we should also think about when we're thinking about if it's good for the earth, it's good for our bodies, is good tools, right? And it's really easy to get hung up in the latest, greatest thing you read about in a garden magazine, or the greatest ad you saw on a wonderful Garden Gate TV show or a BBC garden show. But think about what's good, or what does your hand need? What does your shoulder, what does your body mechanism need? And I would like you to think a little bit, I don't mean this as a product placement by any means, but this, I call this a stopper blocker. I don't know what it's really called, but this design is really nice for your hand to block, so I don't have to grab onto this and really hold it tight as I'm sticking it into the ground and pulling, right? And normally if you don't have this little hook shape, your hand has to hold way too tight to keep your hand from continually sliding down the edge of the handle. So with a shape like this, I can hold on much more loosely because my hand's not going anywhere, because this stopper blocker hook thing is right there holding my hand back from the wrong part of the handle or being too far down the handle. So try tools before you buy them. And I can say that this one, the name is kind of unfortunate, but it's a Corona brand. The Corona tools really are designed for bodies, for hand grip, really nice chunky hand grips, because we don't want to have to cramp our fingers and move our joints to a tighter position than necessary. So the looser you can have your hand be with the more power in your hand, the better it's going to be for any sort of pre-arthritis condition or just plain old getting your hand and your joints tired. We want to have as loose of a grip as possible so the tool is doing the work. So always hear the phrase, let the tool do the work, but it really is a matter of if there's something in a hand design like this, there you go. It's really easy to hold on to, and I don't have to like bear down on it. Yeah.
Could you pass it on?
I most certainly can. It was almost like ESP that you ask about that. So, yeah, give it a try. And it's truly just think about when you're using tools, how hard do you have to grip it? And the bigger and chunkier the handle, probably the better, the easier it is for you to hold it. I wanted to also share and compare pruners. This again, and not for product placement, but people always ask. This is a Corona brand pruner, but the really interesting thing about this, and the other brands have it too, but this has these two little gel pads here. I call them stopper blockers. I'm not sure what they're really called, but when you snip with it, it's like it's a silencer for the pruner, right? So the next branch doesn't know you're coming in to prune it. It's a shock absorber essentially, right? So I can chunk, and this thing is absorbing the shock that's not going from my knuckles to my wrist, up these tendons to my elbow, and ultimately to my shoulder. So you want something like that, and a few brands have that. This one also has an easy feature, which is just 2 fingers can open it and extend it, right? And I wish these people made a snow shovel that did it. I've never seen a good snow shovel. They say, oh, twist here and turn this and that. You get it over your head, and then what does it do? It collapses. So this, give it a try. I'll pass this around too. Feel how easy that is to do. Yeah? Well, I'm going to say many Aubuchons do. I don't know about big box stores. Many Aubuchons, and probably a place like a Lowe's or a big box, but I don't really know because they're national, but each one kind of has its own market. I do know that on 128, but closer like Wellesley and Needham, they're in a big box store there, the Corona brand. So if you'd like, I can pass this around, but what I really want to do is have us compare. You have to kind of heft it and see if it's comfortable for you. But this guy is just fine and dandy. This is a different brand. It's nice. It's lighter weight. This is Fiskars, but just that's going like shock in my knuckles, shock in my wrist, shock up my tendons in my forearm. And I'm not going to give you a lecture about use the right size for the right cane or the right branch that you're chopping, but if you shouldn't have to push hard, but no matter how gently you're pushing, there's still that chunk. So that level of chunking is really just sending a little shock up my arm. So try and avoid that and look for really nice gripper silencers. Can try that. Now, some people might say, I like this better. It's lighter weight. I'll be really careful. I'll only do it for the 2 hours that I'm going to go out and trim that whole row right there of roses. 2 hours. Ixnay on the 2 hour A. Don't do it. 20 minutes at a time. 20 minutes at a time. And it's kind of like, nowadays there's so many TV streaming services with the Hulu shows and everything else, but don't you remember TV sitcoms, even though it was like 11 to 11:30? By the time you take out the commercials and yada, 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 a TV show was about 22 minutes long. There's a really good reason for that. It's kind of our time span, attention span, and it's also just enough time to be sitting in one place watching the show. But it's also the right amount of time to be out doing any one task in your garden. Pace yourself. Which brings us to, don't put these away yet. Don't put them away yet. I really want you to think about the tasks you're doing in your garden, and let's think a little bit about even pruning. Let's stick with pruning because that's what we got going on out here. So you look out and you say, there's some nice forsythias, a couple of amelanchias, I got to go prune them. All right, and there's a nice row of them all along your whole driveway. Driveway has a nice curve in it. Just picture what a great view that is as these things are coming into blossom. You can go prune them, whatever time of year is right for the bush you've got. But put one here and put one about 10 feet down there. And just say to yourself, that's all I got to do today. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to prune that many plants. I'm going to pick up that many little things I've just chopped off the plant. I got to lug just that much stuff away. And that's a lot of work. If you leave your house and say, yes, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get those forsythia, the amelanchier, and even the mock orange. I'm going to do it all today. I'll feel so good. I will have pruned that whole thing. And then what? About 4 hours later, you realize your energy's drained. You might have a little sunburn. That night, you wake up because you've got a lot of muscle pain. It's because you did just too much. And in fact, you prune so much that there's still a lot of twigs and leaves and shrapnel from your pruning job just sitting in the driveway, which what does that do? It's demoralizing. You feel like tomorrow, instead of going out there and doing something very creative and design-oriented, you still got that whole driveway with the curb, with some of those twigs and sticks and branches laying in it that you didn't even have energy yesterday to clean up. So by saying lazy, it's really not lazy at all. It's just saying pace yourself, map out an area that you're going to go work in. And I would go so far as to say, when you're buying those seed packets, little teeny tiny seed packets, and it says covers, I don't know, 9 rows, 8 feet long. Go ahead and say, where's 8 feet? Mark out the visual of 8 feet. There's a reason why developers making a neighborhood, a subdivision, put up those trial balloons to show the Conservation Commission and the neighbors and other people involved. That's how high the condominium building is going to be. It's going to be 3 stories, 32 feet high. There goes a trial balloon that shows that's how high it is. It's like if you go to the hairdresser, your inch and his inch are not the same inch. Not at all. So go ahead and say, here's my seed packet. This is how many feet long, this far apart those seeds are meant to be. Stake it out and really show yourself. Because those seeds look so teeny, weeny, itty bitty at the time that you look in that packet, but every one of them is actually waiting there to grow, to blossom, to flourish, and cause you probably 4 times as much work to take care of it as it was to drive or look through the catalog and buy the seeds and plant them in the first place. They're not innocent. They're like little babies that turn into teenagers getting driver's licenses, right? So you want to just, again, pace yourself, measure out the distances. And in my gardening bag, I take, for instance, again, but my husband has a nice big Stanley 50-foot whatevers. I just take a little guy, little measuring thing. This one was even free from Bartlett's Tree Service. So when you go to a garden center or garden store, get a little, I highly recommend you get a little tape measure. It's even going to help you when you go to the garden center and you read the label on a plant and it says it'll grow 18 inches high or whatever. You can say, oh, I know, this is the royal inch, I know, 80, but there again, you're bending over, measuring, counting, thinking, measuring, counting, thinking, and along comes the Home Depot guy saying, how can I help you? And it's like, wait a minute, was I at 16 or was that the 18? Don't worry about it. Just be lazy and say, sure, you can help me. I'm looking to make sure this thing really doesn't grow higher than 18 inches. Okay, so I put one of these in my little gardening, AKA beach bag. Really pack and think, what are you doing when you go out into your garden? For people of this vintage, and I think we're all in it together here, your cell phone is a tool that I want you to think about for health and safety. I'm not going to talk about apps I recommend or plant ID or bug ID, things that I recommend that I found that I really like, but your voicemail is a really valuable tool for you to think about. I highly recommend, and usually many people don't change their voicemail except for the day at the phone store when the sales clerk helps you set it up for the first time, but learn how to use it and change it. I make my cell phone voicemail say, hey, hi, it's me, great day outside, I'm going to go in the way backyard, I'll be back in around 3. Boom, done. That way along comes 4:30, and people that have left me a message haven't heard back from me. Somebody will say like, oh, that's kind of odd, I wonder if she's okay. Now 9 out of 10, you will be just indoors taking a nap, or looking at the caller ID and saying, I don't feel like answering it. But that one time that you fell down, that one time that your leg cramped up, that one time that although you were never allergic to bees, this time you are, somebody will know how to go check up on you. So I highly recommend. It's not just for people hiking the Appalachian Trail to say, hey, hi, I've left Springer Mountain, I'm going to be at Harper's Ferry on Memorial Day. That's a good use of it too, but really think of it in short terms. How is it a safety thing for you? You know your own situation. If you have somebody you expect frequent phone calls from, just let them know where you are and how long you think you might be going to be gone. Easy safety thing as we get older and want to be safe out in the gardens. So let's go back to, gloves, taking care of our hands. Our skin thins, gets thinner as we age, gets less elasticity wanes as we age. And side note, your fingerprints also dissipate as you age. And I can tell you, 2 years ago, I went to the state of Maine to get fingerprinted. I was doing a teaching job up there. You have to get fingerprinted at a trooper's office in Maine. So there I went. I had my appointment to get my fingerprints done. And it was a real slick one. It was, you roll your finger on that little machine. That's great. Well, the woman there was, her grandmother might be younger than me. So she's doing her job, and she rolls my fingers, rolled my finger, tried again, roll my finger, and she said, and I was thinking she was because she wasn't holding my finger right. Oh no, she continued with looking at my paperwork and then saying, oh yeah, I get it. Oh, what do you get? I say cheerfully. Yeah, the older you get, the more your fingerprints are kind of worn off. This is like really hard to get your print. So how do I feel at that moment? Thinking, how can I help her recreate my fingerprint? But she ended up getting it okay, but that was very graphic to me. That, yeah, the older we get. Then my brain turned to, does that mean I'm not going to go commit a crime, but could I commit? How do I know that? Did she just tell me, did she just give me a good idea? So whatever kind of garden gloves you use, think about the actual use that you bought them for, right? What are these particular garden gloves for? Some of them, this is just a Playtex living glove. Remember those weird ads? Living gloves. Not a deceased glove that we have to be very respectful of. It's a living glove. So think about it. Are you mixing some vermiculite and some potting soil in like a dish pan? You don't need wonderful leather gloves that are just going to be way too hot doing something simple like that. Simple dishwashing gloves are just fine. Your hand might sweat in them, but it's not going to be in there that long. But think about what do you have in your house that better fits the actual job, the actual task you're doing at the moment. Along comes, anybody have anything like this that their OT has recommended if you're doing aquasize or any kind of swimming classes? These are at kids' toy outlets. They're to help little kids have a stronger stroke when they go swimming. But I learned from my occupational therapist that what they're going to do for me to keep my fingers out straight and not get my fingers all bent up and my hands all tightly twisted together when I'm doing something like just making small little holes in a row for the seeds. These little points, I'm just like bink, 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 bink. Or making a row, a little divot in the nice soft soil. Just take this in and wiggle, 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 making a nice row that I'm going to plant the seeds in. These particular ones tipped the scale at $3.98, which is a lot less than the tube of Bengay or the other herbal treatments or whatever else you do to relax in the night when your hands hurt like crazy because you've done so much fine motor work. So these are just from, they're also online. You look up swimming, jazzers, aquasize tools. These are wicked handy. I also use them when I've done the pruning thing to just go and not try and grip up a pile of twigs, but just shovel them together with these things. They also come like in a snowball machine making version and in a sandcastle making version. But just little straight little paddles to put on your hands. Come in all kind of sizes and all kind of colors. I would strongly think, what do you have to do to really take care of your hands? Don't want your hands tired. Container gardens. When I've talked in the beginning about you might want to take away some grass and put in some native plants, you might want to think about the joy and the beauty and the ease of a nice container garden that's maybe at the edge of a patio or very welcoming up by your mailbox. I'm sure that as avid garden club members, you think about the amount of water it's going to take, and even though this time of year we're craving color and put in a bunch of pansies, they can be little water hog divas. And you really have to water them because they're very quick to, they don't give you much warning. They kind of go beautiful and then tired, right? So you got to water them, and we crave that color. But I brought this elephant watering can to remind us a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. Okay, it doesn't sound like much, but 8 pounds is probably more than a couple bags of flour, or about as much as you probably like the Market Basket guy to pack a bag for you. 8 pounds, but 8 pounds how many times back and forth to the container? That's a lot of weight you just carried. 4 trips. The first 2, it's beautiful and you hear birds. The third one, it's like, can I move this container closer to the house? The fourth one is like, pansies are almost done anyway, I'll be putting in something else. So think about the weight of what when you're carrying water around. So it's okay to be lazy and say the containers are beautiful, but how can I get them closer to where I can really appreciate them? And I was impressed by the containers. These are little smart pots. I'm not sure the brand these are where you had the name tags were in, but I would love to have you think about plant roots need air. All right, do you know about that? Plant roots, plants are breathing through their roots, which is what goes wrong when we say the soil is compacted. It's just pressing down too hard. It's all between snow load and just over the years and over time, the soil is compacted. It doesn't drain the way it should, the way it used to. So if you took an oxygen meter and stuck it in, probed it in, you would find that probably there's only oxygen in the top inch or so. There should be air circulating 6 inches deep in your garden around your plant roots. Even with house plants, if you took a chopstick or a pencil and stuck little holes around the roots of your plants, it's so helpful. So think about getting air into the roots of your plants, especially the containers. And a way you can do that is with these soft-sided cloth pots, which come in all kinds of sizes. I have here a big one, and I brought the big one just to really show a way that handles are sewn on them. So it makes it really easy to have this soft pot, this soft container somewhere at the edge of the patio, but as the summer rolls on, the sunlight's in a different place. I might want to move it to another part of the patio. I might want to move it farther away. And as we get into the season of there's going to be frost, I can sacrifice the whole thing and stick it farther out so birds and other little creatures can nibble on the seed heads and things that are left over in this pot. This one's big enough that I actually put it on a little wheelie disc kind of a thing. These come in all sizes though, but looking for ones that have handles is a really good feature for you to think about soft-sided pots for containers. It's going to be so helpful for the roots of your plants. But with that said, gardening with what you have shouldn't be expensive. The older we get, the more we have other things we want to spend money or spend no money on. And I'm wondering if anybody has been to Philadelphia Flower Show or the Old Boston Flower Show. They do, there's a person there, you might want to follow on Instagram. His first name is T-U, and his real first name is T-U, and his last name is Bloom, of all wonderful things. So look up To Bloom. He's sponsored by Subaru, and he does what he calls potting parties. So he teaches you about soil and container gardening, and it's a wonderful experience, and we all got to plant something with To Bloom, and he gave us all, because he's sponsored by Subaru, these little Tyvek-y sort of bags. This one's all stained because I've used it a couple of years. We put the soil in it, and we planted lettuce. And it was so darn fun. Had a pansy in it too, from To Bloom, but planted lettuce in it, and there it was, so easy to put here on my windowsill until I took it outdoors, and then I moved it around the patio, and I felt so darn sassy taking it to a friend's house when a bunch of us were going to get together. It was actually a Master Gardener reconvergence of Master Gardeners from a couple of years' time. We had finished working on one project together, and we're all going to bring something for lunch, and I have my little bag, and it's got lettuce, and it just looks so wonderful. I said, here you go. And the hostess went to pull out the lettuce, and it didn't pull out because it was planted in this thing. And the people were, that's so cool, that's amazing, can I see that, can I touch that? So try planting in a container. Use what you have. And everybody probably has one of these Tyvek-y bags from a hardware store, from a grocery store, but it just looks marvelous. And if this was a PowerPoint kind of a presentation instead of me just talking, I could show you. I have about, last springtime, I started maybe a dozen of them, and they just look so fun. So I did them like from the palest green to really nice red radicchio, just right here in these things. So it was like a nice purpley greenish rainbow of lettuces in these little bags. So darn easy, and you can move them around, water them as you need to, and they do not take 8 pounds per gallon of water. And the roots are breathing quite nicely, and when they're done, they're done. Easy peasy. So think about that. Think about our hands. I've talked a little bit about you want nice, big, chunky tool handles if you have any sort of pre-arthritis or you want to save energy in your hands. Chunky handles are good. And imagine you're going out into your yard, so you have your little cobra head. You might have a little, I take out a couple tablespoons actually, because sometimes that's what I dig with. A couple trowels of this or that or this or that. You put one under your arm, you put one in your elbow hook, you hold on to 2, you put one over here, and you walk out, because you're saving energy, not walking back and forth and back and forth. But if you start pressing too hard, something flies out, like holding a fish too tight, or flies out of your hand. Think about either lacing it up on string with string, or using these funny little things you can get truly at Ocean State Job Lot or any of the big box stores. They come in big jugs of them, a couple bucks each. It's a modern pipe cleaner sort of a thing. So all of our tools have these little holes in them. Lace them up and stick them on a big carabiner. So your hand is not gripping, your arms aren't in goofy positions, holding this, holding that, saving yourself energy from going back and forth. You can be quite cavalier and just hold one thing with a few things draped on it. These are end caps even in grocery stores. Grocery store people think it's to hold a bunch of grocery bags at one time, but nice, big, fat, chunky handle to hold on to. Saving your hands, saving motion, saving different parts of the fine motor things that we want to protect as we get older. Speaking of protecting the fine motor, people here have probably talked about garden journals. Keep track of what you planted. Take pictures periodically. Here's what it looks like. Here's how it's matured. And how to keep a garden journal is maybe a little controversial. Some people say, I don't really care that much. Other people realize, if I'd only done it 3 years ago, it'd really be a tool if I would have started when I first planted it. I recommend these wonderful little 3x5 booklets with tabs. So I have one that was a different year. Then I have one for where I didn't have haiku poems. Then I have one for things that I need to do. So just a little thing. It's so refreshing to have, this is all the space I have. This is today. I'm just going to make 4 bullet points because I had otherwise really nice watercolor sketchbooks. But that felt like a responsibility, because what if it was a page and I messed it all up? Then I'd have to tear it out, and then the book is all messed up. It was getting too stressful. So I had this little thing, $1.98, little spiral bound thing, and a couple of tabs on it that keep it organized. Waterproof cover, easy peasy, in my gardening beach bag. Taking care of our hands again. These were from an occupational therapist that I work with. Not to ask anybody any personal questions, but I'll just send these 3 floating around. And if you have any kind of hand problems, go ahead and keep it. But it's the neatest darn kind of a pen. These are nice because even though the thing is plastic with glitter, they're pencil lead goes in it over and over again. I was going to say rechargeable, refillable, right? And the way they work is just too slick. So I'm left-handed. This finger goes here, and these 2 go here. It's just so easy on your hand. So I'll pass them around, no questions asked. If it appeals to you, keep it. If it doesn't, just 3 people in here must have something to do with hand problems. There you go. But it really is good to remind yourself not to be doing a funky kind of a grip. You're just taking notes. This is not a time for glorious calligraphy in your garden notebook that's just notes for you to remember from year to year. But that's a really nice shape to use. Pruning. Okay, let's go back to the driveway with all the bushes to prune. I highly recommend this guy. So this is from the part of a store or the part of the web or the part of some certain businesses. This thinks it's for you as a grabber, reacher, if you're incapacitated, all right? So meaning in a wheelchair or in a cast or with knee surgery. But I use it in the garden especially for pruning because I'm down here, I'm reaching, and that's fine, I'm getting the shape all kind of nice. And then there's the ones up there that I really have to take care of. I just grab it and pull it toward me, and there I am, right? So this is doing all that other work for me. It's just so sensible and so fun to use, I can also get a couple of branches that I don't want to prune, that shouldn't be touched, group them together, pull them out of the way. And what I really like is when I pull them out of the way, sometimes there's old bird nests, and I can save and put old bird nests in photographs and whatnot. So this is a good way to go in and see what else is going on. See where else is there some new growth happening. What else do I need to trim? What else do I need to... I also do a lot of photographs, so the top things tend to leaf out first. They've got the most sunlight the soonest. So I can say, oh, come here, magnolia, and get a really nice close-up of a magnolia bud. All right, so super easy, just a fun thing to use. I really want you to think about safety, being outdoors and pruning, and try and get yourself some sort of a small step stool. Don't think I can it'll be fine, I can step on that lawn chair just for a second. Don't do it. This is Rubbermaid, so easy. And again, it might sound like product placement, but it folds up in the coolest way, and there it is. Just so darn easy. Boom. So it's just the right height, just to give you that little bit more. So after you've pruned, and there's those 3 up there. This is on the ground, you're super safe. You're going to be able to reach more with your ordinary hand, let alone once you've got the grabber puller tool, right? So this is Rubbermaid, and I wanted to compare it with, for instance, again, so I'm not showing favoritism to brands, I asked my husband to go buy me another one because I can also use them to stage houseplants or stuff like this for workshops. So I said, please go get me another one. They're Rubbermaid, they're right there at Home Depot, da-da-da-da-da. He came back with this one, which is not Rubbermaid, it's Gorilla, it's fine, it works. But he was so proud of himself when he brought it in the house. He said, oh, it folds the same way, it's fine. And look at this, it holds 300 pounds. Yeah. I'm keeping this label on it. But again, it's 300 pounds notwithstanding. Maybe I would be holding a whole bunch of gallons of water with me or something. So think about getting yourself a step stool. And I've tried a few different brands. I've written to a few different companies and say, hey, I do some garden writing and I write for a landscape association. Do you have samples of these? And the only 2 that I can really say really work the way they say they're going to and really fold easily for your hands and shoulders, not to be taking a hammer to a plastic thing, would be Rubbermaid or this 300-pound bad boy right here. So, and don't do that, but I'll stack them up there just to talk right now. Difficult terrain. Lots of questions about difficult terrain, and I wanted you to think about the lazy gardener approach to difficult terrain. What would want to live there? Where's some dirt in between the rocks? Or where's some dirt on a steeper incline? There are some cool gizmos out there, and not to encourage necessarily use of plastic, but these hillside planters are wicked slick, right? Hillside planter, there you go. It's going to go on the incline, and that means as a lazy gardener, all you have to do is carry up a small bag of potting soil to put in there. And it's also going to hold the water as you're establishing that plant. Now, as a super lazy gardener, don't you have some terracotta pot that you did not bring in last winter? Yep. It cracked. Yep. You can invert a little bit somewhere, put a little bit of, a little like margarine tub in there, it might attract a frog. Or you can take that half a terracotta pot and do the same thing with. Stick it in the tough spot, or stick it between a couple of large rocks. A little bit of gravel, a little bit of soil in there, and it's going to support something, especially if you've chosen a plant that's heat tolerant for the sunlight reflecting off the rocks. or drought tolerant, because you only have to water it till it establishes itself. So pick the right plant, pick the right gizmo, and you'll have yourself an area that you can really appreciate looking at from a distance with color cascading different times of the year, in an area that you had previously thought you couldn't plant anything in. Yeah? It's you have to dig a teeny little area to stake it into, all right? And then you would put it, depends on what you got, but even with rocks right up here. I saw one woman did it. She put a bunch of broken glass, weirdly enough, right around here. I didn't ask how many wine bottles did you break to do that. But it looked cool. Had a little pink flamingo, bunch of glass, different and cool. Yeah?
Does it last for, year after year, or do you have to remove it?
You can. I've had one. I've got these about 5 years ago. I've had it in for about 5 years. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's probably on the 600 to 800 millennia deterioration plan. So I don't think you have to move. There could be some natural moving, because once you've got dirt in there and roots in there, the roots are going to find a way to weasel down and find more. But it doesn't it's not going to fall apart and you lose the whole thing in a short amount of time. Okay, there's a ad sheet for it here if you wanted to see a little bit about it. I can pass that around if you want to see it. Terrace the plant, not the hill. Okay? This we don't need to talk about a whole long time, but this, I left the label on purpose. It's a small rake, reminding yourself you don't need a big heavy thing each time you do something, because you've staked out a small area that you're just going to go get the leaves out from under those 6 shrubs right there, so you don't need the rake that you would use for a different kind of project. So find some rakes that are out there that are very narrow. They have some that have a little gizmo here that holds these things, the tines tighter, slide it up and they spread out farther. But this one's really interesting because it opens and extends and closes. So I just want you to think about that a little bit. And again, it's like a nice big chunky handle. You can see what that feels like. Let's talk quickly about, while we're on the rake topic, let's bring out this. We all have favorite tools, but over time you got to realize, how do we need to hold our shoulders? How do we need to hold our wrists and elbows in neutral positions? And that's a whole other talk for another day about some anatomical features of our bodies. But having your wrists neutral instead of how you would normally probably hold a rake would probably be something with this hand underneath and pulling like this, right? Probably something like that. Even if you've learned the landscaper way, just to do little short strokes. These 5 pieces of PVC piping added to this for just a total of just under $4 gives you a way to have your other hand just fall in its own neutral position to be able to hold the rake. Okay, so super handy, super easy, and it'll take a favorite old tool and allow you to use it longer, use it more effectively, not longer at a time. Remember, you're only going to work 20 minutes, change your position, change your task, 20 minutes, but just longer over life to have extended handles or modified handles. So this is just a matter of a few different pieces of PVC piping. At Home Depot, Lowe's, Auchan's, really good local hardware stores have bins and bins and bins of bits. So you need this little, I can pass that around. You need that little half guy to go on just about any handle. And this, for instance, is called a Charlotte pipe, measuring 3 1/4 inches, subtext 4 PT trap. Okay, so these are pre-shaped, and this is a really nice one for putting on the end of a hand trowel. So my arm is in the right position instead of having to turn my hand with my hand trowel. If you have a hand trowel, it should have that stopper blocker on that we pass that hand trowel around, but this is the way you want to be able to hold it. The hardest thing about when you start getting into PVC handles and modifications is when you go to the hardware store and the helper says, "How can I help you?" And you have to say, I don't know, because I don't know what I'm looking for. And they want to help. That answer is very unsatisfactory to the really conscientious worker at these stores. Different shapes. I highly recommend you experiment with it. Just maybe take a picture or see what do you want to modify and how do you want to modify it. This is just one piece that I took off of a bucket, because the bucket handle was just a little piece of metal with a teeny piece of plastic, and I really had to scrumple up my hand to get around the plastic. So I tied a rope on the one half of the bucket, rope on the other half of the bucket after I laced this in it. So I have this nice shape, fatter than the little teeny tiny plastic thing that came on the bucket. I've got this shape to hold on to. Now this is a 3 1/4 40 running trap. It's, I want to say $1.49, something like that, but it really saves your hand. The more far open your hand is, the better it is through your hand, and the longer you can hold on to things without straining your knuckles and all the little tendons and muscles in your hands. Let's talk a little bit about this. Wait, let's do this guy first. These things, I really recommend. I really recommend them if my hand can undo this jar. There we go. All right. I'm going to pass this around. If you would like one, you're welcome to take one. These are going to be what you use to hold all your kinds of gizmos together when you go, or you're going to put these on around canes, around rosebush canes, or whatever. You're going to hold them out of the way, or you're going to use them to lace up a plant when you've got them on trellises. Why this? Because it's a one-hit wonder. I'm going to put it on, I wrap it around, and I lock it up. It's less motion, less on my hand to take any kind of other tying thing or twisty thing or something that I'm using fine motor for. This is just big, chunky, and it's just around, and lock it up. Okay? All kind of sizes in here. Take one if you want one. Pass them on. A few different sizes in there. Nice souvenir for having been here today. Yep. Those little bungees, those were actually, I have 2 different jars of them. Those were actually on the end row at Home Depot in the plumbing section, just before the pipes. It was a big end cap display. Do you have Ocean State job lots here? I think so. Yeah, Ocean State job lots are great places to go find these kind of gizmos. Yeah. Yeah. There's no abrasion because it's a cloth cover. Oh, yeah. Well, no, because I prune it. So I would have pruned it away, probably.
But when do you finally take it off?
Oh, when I'm reshaping the plant. So I've left them there over winter and just had new growth come up. I've done them to hold them so I could have a big cascading thing. So I've held them so that all this stuff wanted to fall really low to the ground. I've held them up maybe about this high against a trellis, so they were kind of all together, and then they cascaded after the point where I held them. Yeah. Or when I've known where a bird's nest was in some kind of shrubbery, I've put some of those to keep this in front of the bird nest, so that just people walking by in the neighborhood didn't really stop and want to look at it, just to kind of like give it some, even though the bird built it there, I just thought, we'll put a little cane curtain in front of you. Thank you for asking. Anybody ever have to get to or have to deal with one of these? Okay. For people that don't know, it's if you've had some kind of surgery or before some kind of surgery with anesthesia, the doctors often want you to do some kind of breath work to increase your lung capacity and make sure that you're exhaling all the air you can and taking in all the air you can. After anesthesiology, we still have residual gases from the anesthesia in our lungs, so we want to make sure you can exhale all of it. This one is a certain brand, but it's kind of fun because I am not athletic at all, but I'm a little bit competitive. And this one has this little device that goes up and down like they all do, but on the side it says, good, better, best. So it's like, all right, I'm going for best. So breathe, and then this little thing is going to float up and show you how much more work you could do to be that much more powerful or effective in your breathing. So weirdly enough, I take it out and when I'm gardening and stop periodically because I get kind of like, and we all do, you hunch over and you start breathing more shallow. It's not dangerous, you're just breathing more shallow. And then you got to stop a second, wiggle your shoulders and enjoy what you're doing. Breath, I am okay, better, Beth, I'm okay, this is okay. So if you have something like this, that's great. Repurpose it and take it out with you when you're gardening and practicing relaxing. Just practicing relaxing. But the other thing you can do is, anybody would know what these are? Same thing. I used that for a long time, and then it was kind of like, it kind of evoked that old knee surgery day, and then, the other knee surgery day, and then I said, but wait, it's all about the breath and relaxing. So I actually put, right? This one's a little bit shallow, but, it's shallow. Come on, Cris. There we go. It's just a way to really relax and get your breath back in order. And think about, I'm sitting here, just enjoying the garden, right? Same thing, $1.98, not any kind of medical bills and the pain and duress of the surgery. Surgery or not, think about what you can do to relax after you've employed some techniques to take care of your skin, take care of your eyes, stay hydrated, replace some lawn with some perennials, replace some perennials at some point with a tree, water effectively, choose the right plant, don't waste energy lugging 8 pounds a gallon. Don't even waste energy if you have a beautiful hose reeler upper. Because what am I doing? Repetitive motion. It ends up being like you're a baseball player with a repetitive motion in one arm. So anytime you can save energy, walk less, take beach bag, garden bag with you out into the garden, just try and do it. Okay? We're coming into that time of year where we can really enjoy being outside. And June 24th, I think you're really going to enjoy being outside touring your gardens here. So those are the main things I wanted to share. 2 books I might suggest in closing. This one is from a man named Dwayne Pancoast. The title of the book, with apologies to Dwayne, I know him very well, I talked to him a lot about this. The title of this is The Geriatric Gardener. But let me tell you what, Dwayne was 82 when he wrote this. He's like 85 now. He had a very successful career with a marketing company, and then he realized what he really wanted to do was garden. So he put this book together. It is written in a way that is so lighthearted and so easy to read with short little vignettes with other ideas for adaptive gardening advice for seniors. So he's probably lazier than I am when it comes to getting out and gardening. So I highly recommend him. He also has an Instagram site that's quick and easy, lots of little tips, great pictures, and great little reminders for people of any age how to be out and be healthy and safe. And discover, grow, and care for world's most popular plants. But this book, of all the books about pruning and the right plant in the right place and planting for pollinators, every possible category you can think of is all in this one little book. It's got the best darn illustrations and the best explanations I've ever found in a book on how to garden effectively, and I take the phrase lazily, and with the benefit of wildlife in mind with just about everything you do in your garden. Okay, so this book I think is a nice compendium with lots of suggestions about right plant, right place, but moreover, if you read it with the mindset of how easy that would be, it's a wonderful thing to do. And she's a great lady. She's a certified arborist, and she also teaches at 2 community colleges in Pennsylvania. And I don't know if you've ever been on any kind of the Brandywine tours, but she's an advisor at Longwood Gardens. Just a great person. So there you have what I wanted to share. So be lazy, be fit, and just be happy outside. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Wait a second. There's more. Good question. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up sooner. This is a foot rocker. Right? So I got this from OT's when I was got a knee replacement and then the other knee replaced. So you just put your foot on it and simply rock back and forth. It's really nice to use after you've been gardening or exercising, just to keep that lactic acid from seizing up in your muscles. So easy. Like I told you, I am not athletic, not about calisthenics, and this is so easy. You simply sit, no batteries required, and you just rock your foot back and forth. It's so comfortable. Actually, give it a try, because it's going to pivot your ankle and help circulate blood through the back of your calf, all up into into your hamstrings. So, yeah, give it a try. And the further back you put it under you, the bigger the angle is on the back of your knee. So if you've ever had knee surgery, you know they measure you with the goniometer and tell you what the angle is of your knee measurements and whatnot. This is a way to do it without caring about the number, but with knowing the further back I scooch it, the more angle, the more range of motion I have in my knee. So now I take it on an airplane with me. I'm going to Cincinnati in June to give a talk there, so I have it on the airplane. Just rock the foot and rock my other foot. As if I were a hockey player, remember? Yeah. This white thing, this was to remind me about, to talk about the water and make lemonade out of the nasty situation you might find yourself in, which was supposed to lead to the foot thing, and it's a fruit squeezer, fruit juicer. If you have to add something to your water, a little bit of fruit juice, like you've done here, a little bit of fruit juice is a good thing to add, fresh citrus especially. And this is also, people have asked, what's the best kneeler that you use? What do you recommend for a kneeler? I can tell you that pre-knee surgery, it never would have occurred to me to be kneeling anything. That's not my thing. Never. I've had beautiful hardwood floors, and I just never took adequate care of them, being down on my hands and knees, I guess. I just don't bend that way. It just doesn't occur to me. I've tried different kneelers or different ones that have the nice little handles when you can sit on them or kneel on them. It just doesn't work for me. But this, I actually, this is an occupational therapy one that you're supposed to stand on or balance on. It's super thick foam. I keep it in this case, and I use it to kneel on actually, or to stand on. Has anybody ever had to use these? They tell you to stand on it and try and do this, or like step up, step down. Because this is supposed to support your weight, as my husband suggested, up to 300 pounds, this is going to help. This is a great surface to have as a kneeler. And it's not advertised as a kneeler. It's advertised in the occupational therapy part of websites or home health care or whatnot. But it's super thick foam, like you might have cut apart a purple mattress or something. All right, so that's me. Yeah?
Well, and I know that there are other people that it's great that you feel, but there are lots of us who have knee replacements who can't kneel.
Oh, yeah.
It's excruciating what you suggest to put in the seeds.
To put in seeds, I start them in seed cells, actually, and then I have a PVC handle on a trowel that I actually dig and put them into the trowel and then pat carefully around them. I think it's just creepy to kneel on little patellas that have been torn apart. If you said I had to, that's what I've had to do it on, just to try it out. After the occupational therapist said, "Oh, train yourself." I thought, I'll train myself to do other things. But this is really firm for the people who can do it. I just think it's creepy. They can tell me all they want. You can't pop it or hurt it. But I think, it's too creepy. Yeah. Yeah.
When I rake, 5 minutes into raking, my roller, I'm right-handed, roller left-handed.
That's an interesting thing. It's probably going to be good for you to modify your rake handle so that your spine is a median space, right? So you want as much energy up here as you have down here. When one of them hurts, it's because all the energy is being used up in the air, not across that medial spot. Yeah, come try it. Stand up here and see how good that thing really does feel. Because you're going to have one hand just stay straight. It's not going to have to go. The minute I'm upside down here, I've already torqued out the shoulder joint. It doesn't want to be that way. So, or also what they call a landscaper rake, any rake you use, but they just go quick, short, 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 and pull it toward them. Short, 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 and pull it toward them. Instead of like, I'll reach there and pull it all out. Too much heft at one time. Too heavy at one time. Yeah, try it. Yeah.
What do you do to protect yourself from ticks?
Oh, that's a good question, and it's a very scary, very real topic. There's no protection better than checking out when you go inside. But really and truly, it's okay to look dorky as the day is long. Tuck your pants into socks. Don't wear sandals. Wear socks that you tuck your pants into and wear as long as you can. I've also taken some of those fat bungee things and just wrapped them around here. Some people use duct tape, but that seems kind of wasteful. I've wrapped it around here so they can't climb up in me. And I wish I had a better answer. One thing that they're telling us in New Hampshire, I don't know about Rockport, is encourage opossums. Possums eat like thousands of ticks in a day. And turkeys, yeah. Yeah, and guinea fowl. So those kind of things in our habitat, but the best thing is your own human eyeballs. I wish I had a better answer. I haven't found it helpful, and I had a tick on my rib cage. It must have been, it was creepy because it had swollen up, but I never got a bullseye from it. I did go to the doctor, and he said, "No, if you don't have a bullseye, we're not going to give you antibiotics." And I had used it was an Avon product. Mary Kay has some products like that too, but they do what they do. If you can mow an area, they're flat and wide, and so they can kind of parasail. You want to cut the distance they're parasailing from a plant to you. But that's really more prophylactic than really getting rid of them. Yeah. That's true too. And that's been effective for you? The one time you did, I would call it effective. I would call it very effective. Yeah, so impregnate a pair of some clothing with bug sprays. Keeps them from places where you can't see them so well. And hope for the best. At least there's more physicians out there now willing to admit Lyme's is real, rather than saying, yeah, of course you're tired. Everybody's tired your age, right? It's at least something that's being more researched and more believed in. All right, that looks like it. It's been a joy to meet you folks and be part of your group today. I was thrilled to drive down. Thank you. Thank you. No, not at all. It clicks on. Yeah, a little bit of trick is you can use a hairdryer for a couple of seconds, get it kind of limbered up and soften it, and then it'll pop right up.